Making headlines this hour. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz returns to Male, concluding a 5-day visit to the United Kingdom. The Ministry of Tourism and Environment states tourist arrivals in the Maldives have risen sharply in 2025, with 1,202,262 international visitors recorded as of the 16th of July, a 9.6% increase over the same period last year. And Dr. Abdullah Muttalib, Minister of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, states that the government's housing strategy is aimed at broadening residential opportunities across socio-economic strata.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz returns to Male, concluding a 5-day visit to the United Kingdom that underscored a long-standing partnership rooted in diplomatic history and forward-looking cooperation.
The official visit, held from the 15th to the 19th of July, marked the 60th anniversary of bilateral ties and centered on advancing collaboration in climate adaptation, economic resilience, and justice sector reform. President Muiz's arrival in London was marked by a formal reception hosted by a special envoy of King Charles III and attended by senior British officials. Leading a high-level delegation, the president entered a series of strategic meetings that reinforced shared commitments to what he described as a strong and sustainable relationship built upon respect and principles. Among the key diplomatic engagements was a meeting with Sir Lindsay Hoyle, MP, Speaker of the House of Commons. Discussions focused on enhancing cooperation across several sectors, including environmental stewardship, sustainable tourism, fisheries, and democratic governance, all areas of mutual interest and strategic alignment. That progression of talks extended to Windsor Castle, where President Muiz held a private audience with King Charles III. The two leaders reaffirmed their dedication to strengthening bilateral ties, recognizing both the historical foundations and contemporary relevance of the Maldives-UK relationship. Diplomatic dialogue continued with a courtesy call by David Lammy MP, Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs. Conversations covered a spectrum of pressing issues, including support for the fisheries sector, the scaling of climate adaptation measures, investment in renewable energy, and the expansion of educational and scholarship opportunities for Maldivian citizens. Parliamentary cooperation took further shape during a session of the All-Party Parliamentary Group composed of legislators from both nations. Co-chair Yasmin Qureshi MP highlighted the global imperative to assist developing small island states, calling for robust financial and technical support and reaffirming the essential role of international cooperation in addressing climate vulnerability. Business diplomacy formed a pivotal part of the itinerary, anchored by the Maldives-UK Business Forum. The forum served as a platform to showcase trade potential and draw foreign investment into emerging sectors of the Maldivian economy. President Muiz, in his address, outlined efforts to strengthen the country's investment landscape, referencing the enactment of a new foreign investment law and the revitalization of special economic zones. He said British businesses are well positioned to contribute to the Maldives' pursuit of long-term economic resilience. A tangible outcome of the forum was the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the West London Chambers of Commerce and the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. The event also marked the official launch of the From Maldives brand, an initiative aimed at elevating the international profile of Maldivian fisheries products. The visit also included a meeting with Shirley Ayorkor Bochwe, Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Discussions reflected the Maldives' determination to advance the interests of small island developing states within the multilateral system. President Muiz reaffirmed the country's national ambition to attain developed country status by 2040 and noted the Commonwealth's vital role in that aspiration.
The Ministry of Tourism and Environment states tourist arrivals in the Maldives have risen sharply in 2025, with 1,202,262 international visitors recorded as of the 16th of July, a 9.6% increase over the same period last year. The figures published in the latest Tourism Update report underscore the sector's sustained recovery and central role in the national economy.
Visitor traffic accelerated notably this month. Between the 1st and the 16th of July, 94,132 travelers entered the country, contributing to a year-on-year rise of 15.3% for the period. On average, 5,883 tourists are now arriving daily, compared with approximately 4,000 per day during May and June. China accounts for the highest volume of arrivals with 165,134 travelers recorded to date. Russia ranks second at 140,298 and the United Kingdom follows closely with 115,133. Where tourists choose to stay offers further insight into prevailing travel trends. Resorts remain the dominant choice, hosting 72.8% of all visitors. Guest houses attracted 22.2%, while hotels accommodated 2.7%. The ministry has outlined its intention to attract 2.3 million international visitors by year's end. Officials anticipate a new wave of arrivals following the opening of Velana International Airport's expanded passenger terminal scheduled for the 26th of July.
Dr. Abdullah Muttalib, Minister of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, states that the government's housing strategy is aimed at broadening residential opportunities across socio-economic strata. At the center of the agenda is a strategic effort to engage private sector partners and redirect development priorities beyond the bounds of the Greater Malay region.
Dr. Abdullah Muttalib outlined the policy framework during a foundation stone laying ceremony for a residential development by Rashid Carpentry and Construction Private Limited in Kudahuvadu, Dal Atoll. With its distinction as the first affordable housing scheme led by a private developer outside the capital region, the project has come to represent a significant milestone in decentralized development. Calling the occasion a great honor, Minister Muttalib characterized the initiative as emblematic of the administration's core housing philosophy. He stated, quote, "The fundamental policy of this government is to provide housing opportunities for every citizen," unquote, reaffirming the government's commitment. The minister noted the essential role of private entities in achieving this mandate, pointing to President Dr. Mohamed Muizz's strategic direction, which encourages developers to expand housing options in the outer atolls. He explained the policy is designed to accommodate varying levels of financial capacity across Maldivian society. From high-income households to those requiring government support, the framework seeks to ensure that housing solutions reflect the diversity of economic means. In addressing the target of 65,000 housing units, Minister Muttalib noted that the figure should not be interpreted as representing solely state-delivered social housing. He warned that executing a program of that magnitude exclusively through government resources would result in enormous expenditure, placing the nation at risk of unsustainable debt. This assessment was reinforced by demographic realities, as the minister noted that developing housing infrastructure across all 187 inhabited islands, more than 50 of which have populations below 500, would impose significant financial strain, necessitating further borrowing. Minister Muttalib affirmed that every Maldivian citizen has the right to establish their life wherever they choose, drawing attention to constitutional provisions underpinning the policy. He urged island communities to uphold this principle, advocating the removal of internal migration barriers. Islands offering improved employment opportunities, quality education, and access to healthcare were identified as key destinations for movement and growth. Minister Muttalib, closing his remarks, highlighted that development and prosperity are vital to safeguarding national independence, reinforcing the government's call for a collective advancement across all regions.
Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure says the signing of the flat agreements under the Gadaroveria scheme will be headed by the Fahidiri Ulung Corporation.
Minister of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure Dr. Abdullah Muttalib had revealed the signing of the flat agreements will begin next week under a streamlined arrangement. The ministry has now initiated a handover of flats. The ministry will head the entire process from this point forward. The ministry said recipients will be notified only through the government's housing portal, Gadaroveria, to come in to sign the agreement, urging recipients to beware of potential Indian companies. While a total of 32 towers are being developed, this includes 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom flats. The project is currently the largest social housing project being implemented in the Malay region. Of the 32 towers, 16 are being constructed by Kalpataru Projects International Limited or KPIL. The company's towers are under the name Aman Udares. The remaining 16 towers are being constructed by the National Buildings Construction Corporation of India or NBCC. The 16 towers of NBCC are named Aman Dodi. Due to the serious concerns raised over the allocation process of flats under the 4,000 housing unit project, the government formed a special committee to review the matter. While several individuals on the interim list do not meet the eligibility requirements, the committee has provided the opportunity for the public to respond and submit complaints on the list.
The Maldives Airports Company Limited assures the quality of services provided in the new international passenger terminal at the Velana International Maldives. Maldives remains a luxury tourism brand, but the current passenger terminal at VA is being tourist. CL's Managing Director Ibrahim Sharif Muhammad speaking on the airport to cater to the quality of service expected by the country's luxury tourism industry. According to Sharif, VIA has the most air traffic between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. every day, as many airlines operate flights during these hours. However, due to space constraints to process passengers, VIA had been unable to operate more flights at these hours. He added the new terminal, however, will eliminate this obstacle and open up Maldives for further tourism expansion with the ability to accommodate more flight operations during peak hours. The inauguration of VIA's new passenger terminal is scheduled for the 26th of July to coincide with Independence Day. Designed to accommodate 7 million passengers annually, the facility is expected to broaden airline partnerships and support expanded flight frequencies. Government officials project the upgraded terminal will reinforce the Maldives tourism sector and elevate the country's standing as a regional hub for international travel. Chartered Accountants of the Maldives, President Muhammad Halim Abdullah says the First Auditors Forum has received a better response than expected, expressing confidence that the forum will help bolster the country's auditing sector. The first ever Auditors Forum hosted by CA Maldives brings together audit professionals from across the country to discuss key developments. Former Auditor General Hassan Ziad on Saturday offers a space for meaningful conversations, practical insights, and shared learning while reflecting on where the profession is heading and how it can better respond to growing expectations around the quality, transparency, and innovation. Halim said, speaking at the inauguration ceremony, that CA Maldives' primary aim of hosting the forum is to facilitate conversations among industry professionals, paving the way for future benefit to the auditing industry. This marks the first of 5 forums planned by CA Maldives for this year. CA Maldives will play host to the Tax Forum in conjunction with Maldives Inland Revenue Authority, or MIRA, the CFO Forum, the IFRS Forum, and the Maldives Accountants Forum, the flagship event of CA Maldives later this year. In addition, this year's annual Oceania Standard Setters Group annual meeting will be held in November. Halim announced that CA Maldives IFRS Forum will be held to coincide with the meeting, expressing hope for widespread international participation. Minister of Divihi Language, Culture and Heritage Adam Nasir Ibrahim reveals the government has begun training personnel from across the country as it prepares to officially roll out the initiative to document the life stories and memories of senior citizens amid efforts to preserve the country's rich history and culture.
Minister Adam Nasir said efforts are now underway to officially roll out the initiative to collect the oral history of senior citizens, which includes gathering relevant resources, material, and translations. The minister said most of the senior citizens would have acquired many local skills over the past 50 or 60 years, which will be recorded so that the country can preserve such traits and characteristics for future generations, adding that such vital information can be utilized in developing islands and restore the true identity of Maldivians. The minister said this initiative is a huge task to identify the skills, characteristics, and the unique ingenuity of the Maldivian people, which he pledged to officially commence this year. The minister stresses importance of Grand Independence Day celebration. Minister Adam Nasir also hit back at criticism of the government's plan to celebrate the forthcoming Independence Day, insisting that such grand celebrations are critical to teaching the younger generation of its value. He said the government is planning a wide array of festive activities for a grand celebration for all age groups. The Independence Day official reception will be held on the 27th of July, followed by a military parade and route march capped off by a fireworks display in the reclaimed suburb Hulumale. On the morning of the 28th of July, the National Award for Public Service ceremony will be held, followed by a parade and route march in Hulumale later in the evening. In addition to the official activities, there will be a photography competition open to the public and an essay writing and drawing competition for school children. The official logo for the Maldives' 60th Independence Day has been unveiled, selected from over 30 submissions. Independence Day, celebrated annually on July 26th, marks the day in 1965 when the Maldives gained independence from British colonial rule, which began in 1887.
Insights into business, U.S. President Donald Trump signs a law to create a regulatory regime for U.S. dollar-pegged cryptocurrencies known as stablecoins, a milestone that could pave the way for the digital assets to become an everyday way to make payments and move money.
The bill, dubbed the Genius Act, passed by 308 to 122, receiving support from nearly half the Democratic members and most Republicans. The law is a huge win for crypto supporters who have long lobbied for such a regulatory framework in a bid to gain greater legitimacy for an industry that began in 2009 as a digital Wild West famed for its innovation and speculative chaos.
Let me say the entire crypto community, for years, you were mocked and dismissed and counted out. You were counted out as little as a year and a half ago. But this signing is a massive validation. And even before this signing, over the last year and a half, I think your stuff has gone up more than any stock, or just about more. A couple of stocks that were pretty good, I will say. But you have certainly, as an industry, gone up more than anybody. Nobody's gained the respect in such a short period of time.
Stablecoins are designed to maintain a constant value, usually a $1 US peg, and their use has exploded, notably by crypto traders moving funds between tokens. The industry hopes they will enter mainstream use for sending and receiving payments instantly. The new law requires stablecoins to be backed by liquid assets such as US dollars and short-term treasury bills, and for issuers to disclose publicly the composition of their reserves monthly. Crypto companies and executives have argued such legislation will enhance stablecoins' credibility and make banks, retailers, and consumers more willing to using them to transfer funds instantly. The Republican president, who has since launched his own coin, in turn aligned himself with the industry and told a crypto conference during his presidential campaign that he would make the U.S. the crypto capital of the planet. But Democrats and critics have said the law should have blocked big tech companies from issuing their own stablecoins, which could increase the clout of an already powerful sector, contain stronger anti-money laundering protections, and prohibited foreign stablecoin issuers.
An update on international conflicts. The UN says it has received credible reports of widespread violations and abuses, as well as continuing clashes in Suwaida after days of bloodshed in and around the predominantly Druze city in southern Syria.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights spokesperson Ravina Shamdasani said in a Geneva briefing that the reports indicated summary executions, arbitrary killings, kidnappings, looting, and destruction of property. The Syrian Network for Human Rights, an independent monitoring group, said it had documented 254 people killed in 4 days of fighting, including medical personnel, women, and children.
Credible reports that our office has received indicate widespread violations and abuses, including summary executions and arbitrary killings, kidnappings, destruction of private property, and looting of homes in the southern city of Suwaida. Among the reported perpetrators were members of the security forces and individuals affiliated with the interim authorities, as well as other armed elements from the area, including the Druze and Bedouin.
The UN estimated that about 2,000 families had been displaced from areas affected by violence in Suwaida province. The UNHCR said this number was continuing to rise. Earlier today, the Syrian presidency has stated that a ceasefire is in place and urged all parties to respect it. The presidency of Syria also warned against any breach of this decision, which, according to it, will constitute a clear violation of national sovereignty and will be met with the required legal procedures in accordance with the Constitution and applicable laws.
Moving on to sports, American Hans Niemann and Levan Aronian reaches the grand final of the Las Vegas chess tournament, setting up an all-American showdown for Sunday's $200,000 top prize.
Both players secured their semi-final victories at the Wynn Las Vegas, with neither having previously won a Grand Slam title in the series. Aronian defeated India's Arjun Erigaisi 2-0 in classical games, avoiding the need for tiebreaks. The Armenian-born American had earlier eliminated tour leader Magnus Carlsen and world number 2 Hikaru Nakamura from the upper bracket. Following 2 draws in classical play against Fabiano Caruana, Niemann overcame an early scare in rapid tiebreak cynical attack to advance in Sunday's third-place playoff. Carlsen, who won the Paris and Karlsruhe legs of the Grand Prix series, has been forced to fight through the lower bracket throughout the Las Vegas event. The tournament concludes on Sunday with the grand final between
South African chef Koliswa Doyiya stirred pots in a kitchen filled with the 107th birthday.
For 22 years, Doyiya was the personal chef to South Africa's first black president, cooking for him through his presidency and retirement. On July 18th, she honored his legacy with a commemorative meal of his favorite dishes, butternut soup, oxtail stew with samp and beans, and the syrupy baked dessert he came to love late in life.
You know, umphutu, that's a climate meal that you eat with sour milk. He used to love that. He used to enjoy that every time there's no. Then there's oxtail stew, samp and beans. That was his best meal. That he will ask me if I don't cook it maybe 3 times or 2 times in a week. He will call me and he will embarrass me in front of the guests on the table. Said, "Holly, why are you not feeding me well?" And so I know it's about the oxtail. So that was the meal that he would like the most. Yes.
The tribute was more than nostalgic. It marked the launch of Doyiya's global culinary tour, where she plans to showcase Mandela's favorite meals while raising funds for a cooking school she hopes to build in Queenstown, Eastern Cape, Mandela's home province. Guests at the luncheon, including artists and architects, shared personal memories of Mandela and reflected on the state of the nation he once led. When Mandela took office in 1994, the African National Congress promised social upliftment and economic justice. But decades later, many South Africans feel those promises remain unfulfilled.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.